I'm going to call the meeting to order. I know that you all see our chairman here. He's just gotten back in town and asked me to chair the meeting, and I'm happy to do that. I'm going to welcome everyone, and then I'm going to call roll. Kristen Parker's not here. Betty Kinzer's here. Ms. Hopkins is not here. Mr. Fulbright. Here. Mr. Moore. Right. Ms. Irvin, who says she will be here late, hopefully. Mr. Sims. Here. Mr. Hooper. Here. Mr. Howell. Here. Mr. Lindsay and Mr. Dudley. Okay. I need a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Mr. Howell has made the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Fulbright seconds the motion. Then any discussion? Then we're ready to vote.
Please vote now.
I don't have mine pulled up yet, but I'm voting yes.
Okay, yeah, I just saw that notice. You said Mr. Moore?
I got in. I'm fast.
He's a new grandfather. We have to just realize that. Okay, the agenda is to discuss the ESSER 2.0. Is there a motion? I move to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm still on the fence on some of this, just to be honest, but aside from that, I appreciate the work that was put into this on the second round by staff, about trying to really hear what the board members, had said on this. Again, I knew I was a tall order anyway on what I was looking for, but I do appreciate that. I felt like there was some very good effort to really, listen to what we had to say, to reach out and understand where that was coming from and try to put something together. So I just say I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Hickman, do you?
Certainly, and you know, we want to hear your voice, and I know hearing from you guys last week, you still felt like we didn't hear it. I want to first of all say, you know, we put a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of thought into what we put into this plan. And not only did we do that, we surveyed teachers and principals, and we wanted to make sure what we're doing is best for our students. And I think somewhere along the line we kind of got caught up on learning loss, which we know there's learning loss, but I think we were thinking in the terms of learning loss, a third grade kid being able to read. And I agree, that is a huge concern for us. But also some of these items, and I guess I should have gave more clarity, is more about learning loss, not in just a kid learning to read, but also for our high school kids, making sure they graduate on time, making sure we hit our EPSOs, we get our graduation rates, to make sure that we have a sustaining program to get even those high school kids that can read called up in the areas they need to be called up in. We feel strongly about the technology. Not only do we feel strongly about it, we're backed by 84% of our elementary K-2 teachers. When we ask them, what do you need to help with the learning loss, over 84% said, we need devices. We need those. You know, there even came a time when we were going through this, one of the things we asked ourselves, are we off base? Are we out of line? Did we do something wrong? So we had a state person review our application and our proposal to you guys, and they came back and said, frankly, that's one of the best ones I've seen in the state. And so we knew we were on track, but we also wanted to hear what you said and try to implement in this. And we did take some things out, and we did replace some things. But, you know, I want to make sure our teachers have what not only we think, but they think as well, to get the kids of Murray County caught up. And that is part of what this plan, that is wholly what this plan is meant to be and meant to do. So, you know, at this point, is there any questions?
Well, it's not specifically a question, but I know I wasn't here for all the wrestling in the mud and everything else that went along with this process. But I can tell just from what I do know and what I've seen and heard, there was an awful lot of work that went into it. And I'm gonna tell you quite frankly, I didn't apply for the superintendent job when it was open simply because I didn't think I was qualified to make the decisions the superintendent has to make. I can make a lot of policy decisions and I can look over the budget, but when it comes to planning for the education of the children, we have a whole staff, most of whom are here tonight, led by you in the yellow tie, to make those decisions. So, you know, I may wanna spend $10 out of this fund rather than that fund to go to this rather than that, but that's not my call. My call is to support you and your staff in what you believe needs to be done. So I appreciate the role that you've taken in leading this and the work that the entire staff has done in putting it together. So, I commend you, and I would hope that we all recognize that, we have people in place who are well qualified to make these decisions.
Okay. I'll go through these kind of quickly, just some basic questions that I expect them to all to be yeses, but you can go with this, Mr. Hickman. So as of the plan that we were presented that's in this, do you feel like this represents what you guys think is the best use of these funds, based on the information you have right now?
Yes, sir.
I'm throwing softballs.
Yes, sir. It does, and, you know, the beauty of it is one of the questions asked of us, do we have other things we need? And absolutely we do.
Absolutely.
And so, our hopes is we don't have to use all that allocated summer school money, so we can go down to what's number 11 on our list.
Okay.
So right now, absolutely. We just have to be cautious because, once again, the summer learning money is for this year and next year that they're giving us. And they still haven't given us a lot of clear definitions of what everything looks like with it, and we're learning more every day.
Okay. And that actually goes into a couple of my other questions too that kind of go with that. Do you feel like this represents, or that we are addressing the training and making sure we're giving teachers and other staff the tools they need to implement these pieces that we're purchasing, whether it be software or devices or whatever it is? Do you feel like this includes everything you feel like it needs for that?
I will say this, mostly it does, but there's also outside training not in here that we are doing as well to make sure that this gets implemented with fidelity.
Okay. And it's like you've got my questions, because that actually leads into my next one. So one of the questions I had previously was about expectations, which goes into the training piece too. So, I would hope to see, were this to pass, and were we to get that money, that we would have in writing some clear expectations so that staff understands, for anything we purchase, be it software or devices, how it's supposed to be used in accordance to what the district's looking to achieve here, and then so that they have a comfort level that they're not just thrown a software package or a set of licenses or devices and they have to figure it out. So do you feel like you guys can put together, and again, I'm stressing the written part of that, those expectations can be written so that staff can have a clear understanding of what they're expected?
Yes, sir. We most definitely can come up with those expectations, and I agree, you know, and I said it last meeting, too many times this district has just thrown out programs with no support, and they've just flopped, and we've wasted millions of dollars, and we feel so strongly and passionate about what we've put in here that we're going to inspect it to make sure it's happening.
All right, well, I would just, for one, I would like to see, when you do get those written expectations, I'd like to see what that looks like, and if you could bring that back to the board. The last one is very simple. I know the state is still throwing curveballs on all of this. I would like to just make sure, I'm sure you would do this, but I have an expectation as a board member that were the state to change anything or kind of, again, throw more curveballs at us, that you come back to us quickly with the revised plan, and let us try to address that as soon as possible, and let us know if you're changing gears or changing directions based on what they're doing. You know, for example, with the money that's gone into some of the summer learning camp stuff, if they change their allocations or if they decide to increase what they're putting towards that, I would really appreciate if you would come back quickly and let us know what else can we use those funds for to try to achieve other goals, because like we've always said, there are many other needs here beyond what we've made it into this list. So I would hope that as quickly as possible we could adjust and try to get those in play as soon as possible.
And I agree, and, I made it my number one priority is always keep you guys in the know, through my memos to you guys, and I know some days you hate me when I'm sending 4 or 5 emails, one after the other, but I will most certainly and always have and strive for and will continue to make sure you guys know what's going on.
Thank you.
Mr. Howe?
So, one thing that, and I didn't mention this at the previous meeting, one thing I do see here, which I'm not necessarily happy about it, but it's on here, is $60,000 for mental health counseling. Frankly, I feel like that's just a drop in the bucket of what really needs to be there. I know increasingly daily, I'm seeing an increase in calls for service for suicide, and it's not adults that I'm seeing the increase in the most. I'm seeing it more in our student population. I believe this year alone we've had a significant increase in not just attempts, but in completions. And so I would hope that that item number 11 could be possibly that, or if possibly there is a 3.0, I would like to see a lot more put into to student mental health. And I don't just mean a counselor here or there. I mean, I would like to see something really productive and innovative to reach out to these students before it gets to that point to where that they are seriously considering something like that.
Absolutely. Our kids are in crisis right now, this COVID pandemic, and one of the reasons, and you'll see it later, come April, May, we just feel that that's so serious. That's one of those budget items that we want to keep that's reoccurring instead of a one-time fit. So that's one of those areas that we understand.
Also, something else, as far as, and I noticed that iReady is not on here anymore. I know we spent, did I miss it?
Yes, it's still there. It's there. It's integrated into, I think we went back and tried to do the difference between the iReady being the assessment, but the support platform for our Ready Math.
Where is it under something else?
It might be I have to look to see where it is. It's still under,
Is it under Math Intervention Program?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I want to make it clear with iReady because I think there was some confusion with iReady. iReady is not just an assessment tool.
Correct.
It has an assessment tool because that's all we have. That's what we use. Is it a great one? No. Is it okay one? Yeah. But, when I put my assessment piece in there, that is going to be our only benchmark assessment. That is it. It won't be my benchmark and this other one. It's just that one. What we did discuss, one thing we did take off of, and we felt like it was prudent to do so, is we don't need kindergartners doing these benchmarks because basically they are skills, are standards, and we felt that way with first grade as well. So we didn't find the need really for kindergarten, first grade. And also we talked about 12th grade because 12th grade, we're looking at a lot of kids that are at Spring Hill that have that project. We have kids that are doing work study programs, and also very few of them have a class, as you would, that is tested. So we felt that we could probably drop them off and feel good about it too with the kindergarten, first, and 12th grade.
Well, I'd like to thank all the staff for being here. That's the brain trust out there that has worked really hard on this, and I appreciate it. And I don't see any other lights other than you, Mr. Hooper. Oh, I didn't see you. I'm sorry.
That's my bad. I'm sorry. I was trying to get caught up in pardon my delay.
Well, okay.
Mine's just a clarifying question. From the last one that was on here, it was the Math Intervention Program TBD. So I did have a problem with that, and it was kind of explained to me, and I understand that part. On here now, it's the same amount, so I imagine the 3 that are in there, those are the ones you're considering? Okay, that's all I want to know.
Ms. Early.
Thank you. I hope I'm not covering anything that may have been mentioned in my delay, but something I wanted to talk about, and I've mentioned it to some of you and talked to some of the other folks at central office. I know technology's been a big question, But I would also like, if there is an ESSER 3.0, I would really like for us to consider, bringing back United Streaming, because, that is something that, I'm sorry, pardon me, I've got my head on so many things. Discovery Education, I'm so sorry. I'm thinking about another thing, pardon me. Discovery Education, as soon as I said that, I'm not at my hole tonight, but Discovery Education, that's something that, we've had a lot of teachers ask for. It's a really good program. I know that it was something that, those in seats prior, brought in, and maybe it wasn't, used to the full extent that it could have been, but I just want to stress that if our staff thinks it's important, that I have also personally worked with that, and I feel like that is a great tool for our teachers. I think it's a great tool to help catch up kids in a way that's not very time demanding up on the teachers, like they can help, and I'm sorry, like I say, this is what I get for not being here on time, but anyway, let's just think about that, and if there's anything I can do to help relay my experience with such, I would love to, but I would like to potentially see that in future funding as well, if that comes to pass.
Mr. Howell?
And I just want to echo on that. I too have heard of all the things that we've cut. That's the one thing that literally has been mentioned. I can't even tell you how many times, but that has been mentioned over and over. Can we get Discovery Ed back? So, I mean, I wholeheartedly would absolutely agree that that's something that we need to look at and consider.
Makes me nervous, y'all bringing up Discovery. Not really. Yes, go ahead, Mr.
We still have some connections to science through Discovery, and we are looking at that as a way to maybe expand that, but still not, in looking at the price of it, certainly we are negotiating with the vendor to try to come up with the best solution that will allow us to have access to some of the other things, but still support our science.
Seeing no other lights, I see David reaching, but I'm not, is the light coming on? No, that's okay. Then I think we're ready to vote. This is due March the 1st.
Yes, they're due March 1st, but they will give an extension now to March 15th.
Well, let's hope we can do it March the 1st. No, let's don't, you shouldn't even bring that up.
And to let you guys know, this just happened. It wasn't information I was withholding, so.
Okay, well, we're ready to vote.
Please vote now.
Is that the vote complete? Oh, my goodness. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Do you want to say something? Huh? Yes.
First of all, thank you guys, all of you, for putting the confidence in us. We're going to do this and do it right. I made the comment to staff today that we've got to be careful trying to do too much right now. We need to pick a few things, do them right, and do them well. And that's why it's really, the scope is very narrow on the programs and the people. But the other thing I would like to challenge you with, they're telling us that ESSER 3.0, or whatever it's going to be called, should be on the president's desk to sign by March 15th. I challenge you to start thinking of those things. Let's start thinking of some of those things you would like to see on it, and please start letting me know. We've looking at a possibility of up to 15 million on the next one, and I don't want the heartburn that we've had on this one. I want it to be a joint effort that we do what's best for the kids of Maury County Public Schools. So we've already got a list. We will share that out with you with some of the things we know we need to start looking at the second tier stuff. But please, give me input. I know a lot of you were able to connect with other people at central office this week. Give them input, and we'd really appreciate it.
Thank everybody for coming out and being here, and glad you didn't have to come and defend all the hard work you've done, and I appreciate your being here. And a motion to adjourn is next on the agenda. Mr. Fulbright, Anybody that objects, then you all can just stay.